Now, this is an interview that I'm not going to have a hard time doing at all, because those of you who know me know that my heart is with orphans and widows in Africa, has been for the last 10 years. And to meet a couple like Jos and Sylvia Holtshausen from, well, they're from all over the world. They're from South Africa, they're from Namibia, they're from Germany now. But to me, it's a great pleasure. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And as I was reading about Christ's Hope International, this organization you founded about 8 years ago, I thought I was reading about myself. But first of all, you had a connection in South Africa with Youth for Christ, right? Years ago. Were you involved in Youth for Christ work?
Served for 27 years in YFC.
Oh, you did?
Yep. And, you know, served in all the various leadership structures, from being a volunteer to leading a team, being the executive director of an office, and then a region, and then a region of Africa, and served on the international board of Youth for Christ for nearly 10 years. So been through them all as far as that's concerned.
Well, you know, when I started on the ministry, I was also with Youth for Christ. There's another common bond, very interesting. I did a lot of campus life clubs in the Montreal area. But in terms of, in fact, my very first speaking assignment in South Africa, back when I was pastoring in Jerusalem, was a place called Kayara.
Yes,
which
we know it well.
you know Kayara.
Well.
Yeah, isn't that right beside the Youth for Christ Center there?
Well,
and
Kayara's just been taken over by the Youth for Christ.
Oh, there you go. So why don't you just do the interview yourself here? But so there you are. You have this significant role with YFC.
Yes.
Why HIV and AIDS? How did that enter into your life?
About 20 years ago, one beautiful day, the lady who works in our house, as you know, the cleaner and the cook and everybody else, or everything else, including helping to raise our children, walked into my house and said, I have just been to the doctor. I'm pregnant, but I'm also HIV positive. And I looked at my wife and I said, what does that mean? HIV positive, what's that? And Jim, that changed our lives. We suddenly became so aware of the depth of the problem that we immediately started to redirecting the ministry that we were doing in Youth for Christ to address the whole issue of orphans and vulnerable children, and also widows. And so very quickly we realized that we were actually moving a little bit away from the mandate that we have in Youth for Christ. And so, because I was serving on the International Board of Youth for Christ at the time, we and one of the board members from Brazil submitted a white paper to the leadership of Youth for Christ and say to them, you know, we really think that we need to seriously look at this whole matter. Well, it was just shortly thereafter I was on a trip to the US, and people who'd been to visit me in Namibia at the time really challenged me and said to me, you know, you are not doing Youth for Christ ministry anymore. Because by that time we had 3 children's homes built, and we looked after kids from, you know, birth until those who are dying of HIV and AIDS. And so it was a serious challenge to me and also to Sylvia. And I actually called her from Los Angeles and I said to her, I think we need to move. And she said, no, I'm not ready. And I said, no, that's fine. And that meeting took place sometime in November of 2002, and January of 2003, we met with 17 people from across the world, and Christ's Hope was born.
Now, how did you feel about this? I mean, you said you weren't ready when you made the phone call from LA, but I mean, did you resonate with this deep down, or were you a hard sell on this?
No, I was really committed to helping people, because I saw at that stage babies dying, mothers dying of HIV and AIDS, fathers dying. So I saw the problem. It was right in front of my eyes. But I thought, man, I like this vehicle called Youth for Christ. I can stay in this boat. But I was reading the book by John Ortberg that says, if you want to walk on water, you've got to get out of the boat.
Yeah.
So, you know, I married to this man, so I said, I'll sub your mission and I'll come with you, of course. And so, you know, I must say that the work that I was doing at that time was specifically in sexual purity. And that was what my job was within Youth for Christ. So it was very easy to move over from sexual purity at youth camps and teaching youth that to the prevention of HIV and AIDS, because that is the prevention is in sexual purity.
Well,
so
I mean, it's sexually transmitted. I mean, it's
Yes.
just simply put, that's the way, it's like an STI, sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah.
Now, were you in Namibia at this point?
Yes. Yeah. I was in Namibia at that time. So Christ's Hope International is an African organization founded by Africans for Africans. That's where our international headquarters is, and that's from where we operate the organization.
Now, I know about the statistical realities of HIV and AIDS in South Africa. What's it like in Namibia?
Not as bad. Namibia is about the fifth most infected country in sub-Saharan Africa, after Botswana and Zimbabwe and South Africa, Swaziland. So that's approximately where we are at the moment.
About 2/3 of those newly infected with HIV every day are young women and girls, according to the stats that I have read, and also the experience I've had on the ground in Africa. How are you dealing with the issue of the status of women and the status of the young girl's life in your work?
I think that in the prevention program, which we call Choose to Wait, and we've got a tagline that says choose to wait for only one. And so what needs to change is the way that women view themselves, the value that they place upon themselves, but even more so, the value that men place on women.
Yeah.
Because the sinful view is that women have been placed there. You know, Adam said, the woman you put here. And God did not put the woman in the garden. He brought her under his protection to the garden. So we teach girls, you are under protection. You are the protected ones, you have value. And your value is the life of a man. And if he won't give you his name, don't give him anything. But what we're teaching the guys, the very, very important to reach the young guys, to reach the boys, to reach them as they're growing to manhood, to bring about a change in the way that they view women. Because if men don't change, women won't change. Men need to change. So that's one of the very, very big things that we teach in Choose to
One of
Wait.
your pictures there, Jos, was it you or one of your workers had a couple of kids on each arm hanging?
Oh, that was a volunteer.
A volunteer, but
yeah.
I'm looking at the terrific importance of a male figure in a kid's life.
Absolutely.
So true.
One area in Northeast Africa where we're working, Northeast South Africa where we're working, it's a former homeland, has about 250,000 people. 90% of the kids there don't know who their father is.
Yes.
We have the same thing, Jim,
We
all the time.
We deal with the same thing.
And see, if a kid has no father,
Yeah.
he's got no moral anchor, does he?
And the other problem is that if he does have a father, the role model that his father has been to him is atrocious.
Yeah.
He's a drunk, he hasn't got a job, and the father expects the son, who's now finishing high school, instead of forming his own household, looking after his own wife, that his son has to pay for him. We have had situations where a father will take his son, when he got his week's pay, take him to the pub and then say to all his friends, you come and drink with me, my son will pay.
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing that we try to do in Choose to Wait. We've got a very, very powerful thing that we teach the kids, and that is to become a cycle breaker. You need to break the cycle of your tradition, and you need to break the cycle of your culture that is not biblical. And so more and more, we have young people standing up and rising up and say, I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. I don't want to be like my mom and dad. I want to have a family, nucleus family, that I am the dad, I look after my wife and my children, I take full responsibility for them. And if it is okay, Jim, I think Sylvia has got a great story.
I was going to say, we have some time. Tell me a story or two.
Maria. Or
Oh,
Paulina.
yes. Oh, there's so many stories. If we're talking about young men, I think one of the things that makes me realize that our program is working, it's very difficult. You can say so many young people signed a pledge to be sexually pure, but that's meaningless. We have to look at these young people that we taught Choose to Wait. Where are they 15 years down the road? Are they in good marriages with happy families? Have they broken a cycle? And we teach our young people to always honor their parents. We say your parents never got this teaching. always honor your parents, but change the next generation. That's the redemptive message. I had one young man who came up to my colleague while I was teaching Choose to Wait, and he said, oh, I learned something so very, very important today. And of course, I'm the teacher, so I want to hear. And I hear him say to this man, I will never take anything from a girl until I've given her my name, because I'm going to be a man of honor.